It would seem that it's not just the general public that is not excited for Meghan's Netflix show, but also the chef community. Jameson Stocks, who is a celebrity chef who has previously cooked for King Charles, has given an interview with his opinions on Meghan Markle's new Netflix show. This interview was done right before her show launched, and he predicted that she would go on a lot of different shows to promote it, which is what we were speculating about back when she delayed the Netflix show. Remember, she went to Altadena, got really bad press because she went around and looked at people's burned down homes for no reason and had no right to do so. And it was a big scandal in the media. And then they delayed the show. And a lot of people speculated from a PR perspective that she had gotten, including myself, that she had gotten herself into a pickle, getting so much negative backlash that it just wasn't a good time to release the show because it was coming on the heels of really bad press. And people were angry that she and Harry did that. And in that analysis, remember, we discussed that in the lead up to any sort of a premiere, no matter how big or small the project is in the entertainment industry, you're not allowed to just freely do whatever you want, willy-nilly make whatever posts you want. You have to be careful to not draw negative attention to yourself in the lead up to a release. No attention is better than negative attention in the days right before a release. So I find it interesting that Jameson expected her to do some interviews and whatnot, because it's clear that she didn't have any of that lined up, because if she had, then that would have made it harder, maybe even impossible, to reschedule the release of the show, to delay it. But he is a cooking expert who has prepared cuisines for some of the biggest stars in the industry. At the top of his list is King Charles III, and he is also a proud ambassador of the Prince's Trust, having supported them for over a decade. Very good for him. He is known for his street food, bold flavors, and innovative cooking. He has also overlooked and run Michelin star restaurants and trained under Marco Pierre White from 15 years old. So he is a very accomplished chef. So I'm interested to hear his opinion on the Meg's show. He says, much of her continued success in our arena, which is the food arena, the food industry, will hinge on how the audience responds to her, which is exactly what I've been saying all this time with cooking shows, which are hugely popular. You have to be a likable host, and if you're not, then nobody wants to watch it. I believe Meghan's team is experimenting with various ideas to see what resonates. Cookery shows are incredibly popular, so it will be fascinating to observe from the chef's perspective as to how it does, and I agree. I'm interested as well to see if people enjoy this or not, or find anything valuable in it or not. When discussing her skill set, he suggested that she will most likely have received training and consulted with experts on the show to enhance her skills, but I disagree. I don't think she would have felt the need to have any sort of training, and it probably was part of why it was so hard to get this show going. They finished filming last summer. Summer 2024, they finished filming, and it took this long to get it out, probably in part because the Meg didn't have much to offer, and it was bland and boring and didn't have many skills here, which makes it harder to piece it together in a way that looks polished, because you want to look like you know what you're doing. You don't want to look like you don't know what you're doing. Even if you're like, I'm learning and this is new to me, you still don't want to be like super clumsy to the point where it's hard to watch. It still needs to be good to watch, good TV. And just being a complete and utter train wreck isn't great TV, especially when you're trying to pretend like you're not a train wreck the way Meghan is. He slammed the series ahead of its release and believes it will not get renewed and come off as boring. He continued, I don't think it will get renewed purely because I don't think it'll be entertaining enough. I agree. There's a lot of great home cooks out there, and I don't think she's going to show too much in regard to inspiration, and I think it will come across quite boring. He was concerned over the reaction Meghan will be met with. He said, Netflix has supported them from the start, so they will likely rally behind her new show as they need it to be a success. Financially, yeah. However, if it doesn't perform well, I'm uncertain about the direction Netflix can take with her. Agreed. There's really nothing else. This is kind of the last chance for her, because beyond this, what else can she possibly do? None of their other projects have really worked out. They don't have good interest. They're not testing good. They're not ideas that people want to see or make. So it wouldn't be smart business for Netflix to continue to try to figure out some other avenue for the wayward couple. He also highlighted his frustration when individuals without formal training or experience in culinary arts suddenly land their own shows and publish cookbooks. It feels like a disservice to those who have dedicated themselves to rigorous training in demanding kitchens, as well as to those who possess the charisma suited for television. But she's not the first or last to do this, I am sure, which is a good point. It's not just that she doesn't really deserve the show because she doesn't have any experience. This is exactly what we talked about with people like Chef Ramsay, Ina Garten, Martha Stewart, who everybody compares her to. A lot of these chefs, Rachel Ray, like all of them who have achieved success with their TV shows, their cooking shows, it's because they have both the skill set and the charisma to do so, and they're also smart with business. They're not out here being all super unlikable to everybody leading up to and in the years before doing it. They're not out there lying about people on TV the way Harry and Meghan did with Netflix and Oprah. It's ridiculous for her, of all people, to think that she can have success in this, but this is exactly what we see with Harry and Meghan time and time again. Their ego is so inflated that they think they can do these things that they really can't. And they've mistaken every single time the interest or the opportunities thrown their way as them, as people, rather than their position. For example, Meghan and Harry, when they got married or engaged, there was a lot of media interest in them and around their wedding because that was a new thing going on with the royal family. People were interested, but they were still only interested through the angle of it being royals, the royal family. Having a new member marry in is what's interested, not the Meg herself. Harry and Meghan took the interest and the popularity and the press coverage as interest in them as individuals rather than them as part of this bigger group of the royal family. And because of that, they did not have the leverage that they thought they would when they left the royal family. And they did not have the same results that they thought they would. And their feedback and their popularity plummeted. When they did the Oprah interview and got Netflix, they thought it was because it was them. They mistook the reason why they got those deals. They got those deals because the production companies thought that they would get something sensational out of it, that it would be a good story. It wasn't about Meghan and Harry themselves. And Meghan thinks that she gets to do this show because she's so great at hosting, cooking, gardening, whatever. But it's not because of that. It's because there's a contract and they need to fulfill it and they want to try to get some degree of their money back. She's not good at these things. She's labeling her business as ever and talks about, oh, I've always been into crafting and cooking and I'm a foodie and I've always been into these things. But that's not why she got this show. She got this show because Netflix signed a terrible deal with them 5 years ago. And thank goodness it's almost over. The interest in it also is not in Meghan's content, but rather people are kind of morbid curiosity watching the train wreck. And so time and time again, we see Harry and Meghan get themselves into situations that they don't deserve. And then they're confused by the backlash and they're confused by their own failures. And it's pathetic. But I had not thought yet of how the chef community would feel. And it totally makes sense what Jameson is saying here, that it's frustrating and sort of almost feels a little degrading and unappreciative of people like Netflix producers and whatnot to go forth with a project like this when there's very more deserving candidates to have a show like this that would do a much better job. And it doesn't reflect well on Meghan. Her lack of self-awareness and her lack of understanding that she doesn't really have the skill set to do this and she doesn't really have the charisma to do this is showing her as somebody who's just taking advantage of the situation and throwing her weight around on all of this, which is no surprise. But additionally, the lack of skill that will surely be observed is something that's going to contribute to a decision to probably not renew the show. Because when you don't have that skill set there, it comes through and it lacks passion and it lacks the quality of the content a great deal. But what do you think about this? I would think you were Meghan and you were in that position. you would want to really embrace the chef community and you would want to really feature them in a bigger way. Now, granted, she does have chefs come on the show and she does feature them and talk to them. But as we discussed previously with Roy Choi, she really just brings it back to herself again. She's not really interviewing them through the context of sharing their experience and their journey to the viewers and introducing viewers to new and interesting chefs that they can then look out for and watch out for. She's not really extending that to them because she constantly brings it back to herself. So she's not really throwing a bone to the community that she would benefit from getting their support, if that makes sense. I completely understand what Jameson is saying, and I hadn't thought of that angle before, that although the show will likely not do well, not be renewed, it is kind of insulting to the chef community having untrained people getting these kinds of deals. It's really unfortunate for people who dedicate their whole lives to the craft and deserve these sorts of opportunities. Meghan is, to be fair, taking a more hosting angle to it, but the impracticality of the whole entire thing is just a dynamic that still doesn't serve Meghan well when it comes to how she's going to be perceived or received. She says, I'm just learning throughout the series, but no matter what angle we take when we're looking at it, she lacks the charisma to make this show likable. And even if she is just learning, as I said, she never really showcases the chefs in a way that would endear her to that community. And she is sort of, in a way, taking an opportunity away from that community. So yet another mistake on the Meg's part. Big surprise. And to add to Jameson's point, to take it a step further, she not only didn't deserve it and doesn't have the skill set or charisma, but she's stolen these ideas. She took a lot of the ideas for her product line and her brand and this show from other already established businesses or people. Pamela Anderson's cooking show, the Marioness of Bath, the Flamingo Estate, Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, all sorts of things can be drawn on as copying or kind of just taking liberties with other people's ideas, content, businesses, even Highgrove, who sells their own fruit preserves and things of that nature. The Meg is just cherry picking things because she doesn't have a strong identity for herself, because she doesn't have strong direction, and she's not inspired by her own self. She doesn't have ideas of her own that she is building upon. She's taking them from others, and she is repackaging it, making it her own, and not unheard of. But ultimately, that is not what makes success. And it's clear when somebody's doing that, it kind of doubles down on the whole, well, then maybe you don't deserve to have this show. Maybe you don't deserve to have these opportunities, because not only do you not have the training, the expertise, the charisma to carry it, but you're also stealing all the ideas and inspiration, getting it from everybody else. You're not really coming up with anything original on your own. So then why, at the end of the day, why is this opportunity afforded to her? Well, clearly because Netflix thought they could make some money. They were wrong, but they thought they could. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to the name and the money. It's all empty and vapid. None of it is on merit. And once again, that feeds into Harry and Meghan's delusions that they get these opportunities and they get invited to these places because of them, rather than understanding that it's just their name. They just want that name on the project, on the panel, because it adds cachet. Because some people erroneously think that it makes it look more official to have somebody like Prince Harry sit in on the panel, even though he delivers no value. Because Netflix thought they could make some money off of the names Harry and Meghan rather than the content having any quality to it at all. It's never been about Harry and Meghan's merits as individuals. It's never been about their opinions or their stance on things or what they have to say or what they do. It's always just been they were once part of the royal family, and that has a degree of cachet that has lingered, unfortunately. But on the other hand, they have done a lot to destroy and chip away at that cachet over the years, and it's dwindling. So we can expect to see Harry and Meghan entering a whole new level of crisis mode that we have not yet seen, thanks to that. Other headlines about her show this week: Meghan's new Netflix show dead in the water as royal fans give their verdict. test groups have frowned upon this. 98% of votes said that they were not looking forward to With Love Meghan on a poll conducted, and there was only 2% of people who expressed excitement. That is terrible metrics. And the test groups who have viewed it have said that it was really boring and there was nothing of value in it and that they would not watch it again. So, not great press, not a great showing so far. Leave your thoughts in the comments. I will be back soon with more for you. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!